Hello, welcome to the Motorsport Review. I'm your host once again, Perry Brown, and joining me this week, I'm very glad to have back, from our Le Mans preview and then Le Mans review. Joining me for a Formula One review this week is Amber from the Netherlands. How are you doing, Amber?
Yeah, I'm doing good. It has been a long time, this summer break, but everyone's finally back.
Yes, it's been a while, hasn't it? Like even just a few weeks away from Formula One, and we were busy, obviously, watching other series. We had a touring car debate last week because we were going to watch DTM and Super GT. So there's all sorts of other things going on, and of course, yesterday IndyCar finished their season, which seems really early, but there's all sorts of other things going on. But Formula One's back. We've got Dutch Grand Prix to talk about today, and Monza obviously coming up next week. So I straight into the Dutch Grand Prix, and the first thing I want to talk to you about, as a native Dutchie, the Zandvoort circuit. I sort of briefly led you into this before we started recording, that I was going to ask this question. It comes under a lot of fire, and of course next year the contract ends. It will be the last, for now, last Dutch Grand Prix. I wanted to get your views on the circuit. As I say, it comes under fire. A lot of what we might talk about is how difficult it is to overtake here, but we're also talking about some of the banking and some of the corners. Some interesting quirks to it. But what's your views on the circuit?
So I only visited the Zandvoort circuit for the first time this year, a couple of months ago. I've never been to the Formula One there, but in my opinion, it's not my favorite circuit because it's so difficult to pass each other. Of course, I watch a lot of other different racing categories, and there it's all a lot easier. But for F1, the atmosphere is great. The people there, the Orange Army, of course, it's great. But if it should be a staple on the F1 calendar, people are coming for me now. I am not sure. No.
Yeah, I remember when it announced that they were getting a Dutch Grand Prix. Obviously, it made a lot of sense with Max Verstappen, as successful as it was. It almost made more sense to go there than to not. But I play racing games. I'd driven Zandvoort, and I was like, I'm not excited about this track in terms of bringing Formula One. They have given us Hugenholtz, I think, is a brilliant corner, but it needed something like that. And if you start putting in really, really banked corners, which are really fun, where does it end? Do you start going, right, we need Silverstone to have a loop to make it interesting? So yeah, it's probably right that it's falling off the calendar.
Yes, I would have loved to see it maybe alternate with a German circuit so that we could have a race in Germany again. But every year now already we saw that it wasn't sold out. There were so many tickets still left. Of course, with Max not performing the best, a lot of Dutchies are really just Max Verstappen fans, and they like F1 because he's such an incredible driver, but they most likely just like him. So if he's not doing well, they're not coming. It's sad to say that, but it is true.
It's very true, isn't it? It's when you think of like different countries and like their first sport, you don't typically go Denmark. The other one, Netherlands, and their Formula One and racing, until suddenly they had a superstar, and then suddenly they're all over it. So it kind of feels like when Verstappen goes over to GT racing or whatever he winds up doing eventually, that all of these passionate fans now, hopefully some of them will remain, but it could be that they all leave the sport with him, and that happens. Of course, that happens.
It will always happen. People always will have their favorites. It doesn't matter which sport. Everyone has their favorites. But I read a Facebook post today saying, well, he did his best and he got second, but that's not good enough. I'm just watching for him to win. And I was like, you don't watch for the fast cars that go zoom? I went to the 24 hours of Spa-Francorchamps, and the Verstappen GT team was driving there. and you could just see the impact that the name Verstappen has, because the queue, the line for the driver to sign things, it was so long. I just didn't go because I wanted to see a lot more other drivers. It was crazy just because it was Verstappen.com.
Yeah, not even Verstappen or his alter ego. I've forgotten the name. Herman Schultz.
Franz Herman.
Franz Herman, of course. Yes, wasn't he? He wasn't driving the car that weekend then. So yeah, we might get onto a little bit of the online reaction to this race a little bit later on. I hope not. I hope we've got other things to talk about, because I've got better things to do than talk about some of the reaction to it. But let's get into the race itself. I think once again we've got to talk about two different races. So we're going to start with the two cars out front. I was going to say orange cars, and I get in trouble on podcasts for saying orange cars. The two papaya cars out front, and their battle. Of course, they're going for the championship. We kind of expect them to be 1 and 2, and qualifying, that was exactly the case. They were 1 and 2. Piastri on pole by 0.012 seconds. What did you think of that?
It was crazy. It was, if you think about how short of a moment that is, it's even incredible that they can time that. They are so close to each other. The cars are so good, but Lando and Oscar, they are both just up there together with the car.
Absolutely, yeah. Both at the very top of their game, especially this year, and especially with the World Drivers' Championship in the mix. So, yeah, I don't know if you saw the video, you know, the ghost replay where the cars go in and out.
Yeah.
I watched that, and it was corner to corner. It was just little moments, just tiny little bits where the cars were suddenly getting a slightly better exit.
Yeah.
And then I believe Piastri got a toe down the main straight, which may or may not have been the difference. I mean, 0.012 seconds, you take everything that you can get.
Yeah.
I mean, I had this down as a Norris circuit, given the statement win we got last year.
Yeah.
I fully expected him to get pole. So Piastri sort of stole that in effect for me. But obviously through a great lap. And then Verstappen does appear. Verstappen plays a part in the race. He mixes it up, and he uses his soft tires that he started on to get in between the McLaren cars and very nearly ditch it in a wall. How on earth he didn't end up in that wall?
I was watching at the eSIM, the pub where I go watch every race, and this time there were a lot of different people because it was the last weekend of our summer vacation. There were Germans, there were Dutchies, but there were Belgians, and everyone at that moment, they gasped, and we were like, how did he keep that out of the wall? He just wiggled and not touch any of the other cars, because the cars in the back, that would have been a massive pileup.
Yeah. I think my initial view was Norris, having the inside line to 2, should have defended more. And actually, when you think that he backed out of it and said, no, let Verstappen do his thing, it was like, very good call. Very, very good call, I think, to let him have that and go, I'll just get you later.
They were, because the corner before that, you could already see like Max backing out, which is not really a Max thing to do. So when he went for it, that moment, I was like, why are you doing it now? This is even more scary. And then he had that moment. He said there was a lot of sand. Of course.
Yes.
There's a beach. So I think, that we have a saying that I don't know if it translates correctly, but when you get scared, we say you poop 7 different colors. And I said to my mate, oh man, the colors of that poop. Because that's such a scary moment.
We have very similar sayings, not quite different, 7 different colors, but of a similar theme, shall we say, to that. Yes, it was things got tight around the cockpit, let's just say. It was then interesting, as you say. Verstappen seemed to be very indefensive when Norris then came back past him. It felt like something like 7 laps later, he just sort of went, okay, that's not my fight today.
No, I think it was around lap 9. You could just see Norris getting closer and trying to, and then I think at one moment Max was like, yeah, it's okay. He can go and have his own race, and I'll have my own race. Maybe he did a little prayer to get him DNFing, but no, that was
it was interesting. I think that Red Bull obviously put him on the softs here, and then at the first stop put him on medium as well. I think it's very telling that they know McLaren aren't their fight, but they're going to do something different. You know, they're not going to just go, okay, we'll turn up and take third. Let's throw the dice. Let's do something that might upset the rhythm of those top two and play a part. So fair play to them, I think, for that.
Yeah, they knew their car wasn't the best, so you have to try in other ways. And for Max, it was the strategy. Kind of worked out for him. So I think it was a good call.
I was worried, once Norris passed, he put, I think it was between 8 and 11 seconds on him very quickly, and he was falling back to Hadjar. Now, whether Hadjar would have been allowed to overtake Verstappen at the Dutch Grand Prix as well, I don't know, but he got within like 1.5 seconds.
He got really close. Yeah, I was so happy for Isaac, but I don't think that they will give the call to let him pass. Maybe they will tell him to slow down, keep up the others so that Max could just get the 3rd place and no other drivers were close to him. But no, giving him the podium because it was because of that massive stint. Oh, in qualifying, it was so good. That lap was amazing. So,
here of all places to pull out a lap like that.
Yeah, crazy. As a rookie, you have to give him credits for that.
You do. We will do later on. We'll give him a lot of credit for that later on.
Yeah,
he absolutely deserved it and held his own. As I say, caught Max, and Leclerc only really had one bite to sort of get past, and it didn't come to anything. So Norris gets through. There's an instant. We'll get to the sort of why later. We're just focusing on the McLaren battle. They keep pitting together, putting the same tires on, and of course we get all the way through to the final stint. And I mean, all race the gap has not been more than 5 seconds. We've had a safety car. Norris is right there. He's got 10 laps to catch him, and as I say, this felt like a Norris track. He felt quicker, and then it happens. And you just feel for the guy, don't you? As soon as that happens,
it was such a sad moment. But I had to say, me as a Piastri girly, I was like, "Oh, he's going to get him! Oh, he's going to get him! What's happening now? He's slowing down! He's slowing down! The car's breaking down! How? It's a McLaren! They were so reliable the whole season and last season, and then just at this moment, it's done." And the moment that I saw the car going like slowly, and he was like stopping. Yeah, I just felt for him.
I mean, initially, they came to the onboard and he says, "Oh, I can see smoke."
Yeah.
And the way it was coming out from the cockpit, like around his legs, I thought it's just the fire extinguisher. It'll be all right. And sometimes these things start to smoke, and they're like, "Just push on, we'll get through it." And maybe it takes 5 laps. And again, this last 8-10 laps before the end of the race, I thought it's still not over until, as you say, comes to a stop, and you go, "Okay, no, this is really happening."
Yeah, I thought maybe or something with the brakes that he just had to push through it, but nope. So it was just so sad for him, and you could just see when he got out of the car and sat down, and he was. Although I think, which props to him, I think he was okay with it. It was out of his wrongdoings. It was just a mechanical failure. He didn't do anything wrong. Another driver didn't hit him like Charles. So he was at peace with it, but you could just see the disappointment in his whole body, how he took off his knee pads. Yeah, it was a sad moment.
It was. The only thing I could say at that moment was I was really glad that he wasn't leading the race, because
Yeah.
I say they're going to be 1 and 2.
Yeah.
If he'd been leading and set to make a dent in Piastri's championship lead before this happened,
Yeah.
this would be a whole lot worse. That's in effect 14 extra points lost.
Yeah.
But he was second on the road, so he's lost just 18.
Yeah.
It's a big dent, but it's not over by any stretch of the imagination. As you said, there was nothing he could do, and he took it really well. He just went,
Yeah.
okay, right, nothing I could do. Piastri's won. Well done to Oscar for today. So
Yeah.
took it very well, unlike people online.
Yeah.
I don't want to give him time
to see the championship being decided over these points, but we don't know what will happen in the next races, so we just have to watch and wait.
I really hope, although I said pre-season that I think Oscar's going to take the championship, so I'll just be proven right earlier. I want to see now Lando with some fire in his belly take Monza, take Azerbaijan, and really bring this championship close again, and do what he threatened to do last year and close this points gap down. So let's see, hopefully. And if you're one of these people online that's saying McLaren did this on purpose, please stop. There's absolutely no way.
Yeah.
I mean, it's very reminiscent. I remember getting into a fight, funny enough, at the Dutch Grand Prix 2021. Someone posted about why did McLaren give Daniel Ricciardo this rubbish strategy, and they gave Lando this fantastic strategy, and it put Lando in the points and Ricciardo out. And I very kindly just said, look, the reason is Ricciardo qualified in the top 10. He had to start on the tyres straight away, just straight back at me. You dinosaur, you don't know what you're talking about. Yada, yada, yada. And I went, okay, look, fine. That's just me. But again, it was all McLaren's fault. They planned it from the start.
Yeah.
It's rubbish. So please stop, as I say, if you're one of those people. But let's move away from the McLaren fight. So I think the next place to go, as you kind of touched on, and it's going to feature into some of the safety cars, I'm going to call it the Mercedes versus Ferrari scrap.
Yes.
It wasn't the best day for Ferrari. Of course, I mean, technically, Hamilton's woe started in practice 1 and 2 spins beforehand, just alluding to what might happen in the race. We were obviously waiting for this potential rain, and then sure enough, he gets up onto the painted part of the track, and it just looks so clumsy, but it's so easy to do, I imagine, as well.
It was so weird because where I was, I live a 2-hour drive away from the circuit, but it's not that far from here. If you take the coast, I live here and Zandvoort is here, and it was pouring down rain here. So I was like, oh, maybe there will be some more rain later in Zandvoort. The sun was shining there. There were some droplets, but it was not a lot of rain. And Hamilton, being so experienced, getting onto that painted part, I felt for him. And also, it looked like he wanted to steer away from the barrier, and then I think he just lost it at the back and just got back into the barrier, which was the big impact that got him to just DNF, I guess.
Yeah, I think once you start to get high, more onto the paint, but as I think the banking sort of curves away at the top, so it's trying to pull you less around the corner.
That's true.
So he just ran out of things that he could do, basically.
It was no room.
Just the tiniest error and he's into the wall. It looked, as I say, it looked clumsy, but he was fighting it all the way. Just a small snap and it went round.
He was all in.
It was funny, that rain all appeared. If you watch, I was watching, I had it on TV for a few hours afterwards, and certainly on Sky, they were all talking, Naomi and Jacques Villeneuve, and they all had the umbrellas out, and that rain arrived. Like, it wasn't just a little shower, it came down proper
raining. It came down. Oh, I got into my car, and it was like the rain they had in the race, during the race. And then while I was watching the race, it was raining so hard. I just couldn't hear the race because the rain was so loud on the windows. It was crazy.
It's always the way that it appears on the track an hour afterwards when they're packing up.
Well, because I think this time, if it was the same rain as we had, they would have just stopped the race. And now we
true, isn't it?
Race to watch.
Yeah, they have this way, don't they? Of as soon as there's a bit of rain, especially somewhere like here, I can imagine. Yeah, that would be that. So Hamilton's out of this one, out of the race, and just at the worst point as well, because Leclerc is pitted. So not only do you have one car out of the race, you've lost a position to George Russell with your other car as well, which meant he needed to get by. And there was a VSC for some damage, I believe there was. Leclerc gets right on it. He gets such a good exit and it puts him alongside. And then we have this coming together with George Russell in the turn 11-12 set of corners. Now, I've got the driving standards in front of me. I'm come prepared for this. But Amber, you get to go first. What's your thoughts on this? Do you know the decision, first of all? Do you know what the FIA decision was on this?
No, I thought it was just a racing incident.
They kind of basically said exactly that there was no further action from them. But did you agree with that decision?
It's difficult because, in my opinion, this incident is just like many others where they did decide one driver to be wrong. And as the FIA, you just have to have your standards the same. Of course, we know it's not always like that. And in this incident, I think there should have been, I don't think it should have been a 10-second penalty like Sainz, but there should have been, or a warning, but I think there should have been some kind of penalty.
I agree. 5 seconds. I felt Leclerc got lucky.
Yeah.
Not only did Russell have damage, but got the rules. Obviously, we know about overtaking. Inside, you've got to be front wheel to wing mirror.
Yeah.
He wasn't in turn 11. He was on the outside, which means he has to have his wheels ahead to get room into 12, which he doesn't get. He's never that far alongside.
No.
It also says priority is given to the first corner in chicanes and S-bends. So that's turn 11 again, where he shouldn't have had room. Then the wording from the stewards was, well, we couldn't determine whether Leclerc went off the track or not. 10 minutes before this, the deleted laps came out. Charles Leclerc on that lap, corner 12, went off the track.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't want to rain on Ferrari's bad day, but I think he got away with one a little bit there. And I'm surprised Mercedes didn't push that a bit harder.
He got lucky with that one. Of course, he was a little bit unlucky the next time. But
yeah, let's not suggest that Antonelli came back for revenge. But yes,
it's funny that it is the same two teams with. Yeah.
Well, that's the manner of the battle at the moment, because you've got, as I said, we've got McLaren's in their own fighting for the World Drivers' Championship. Verstappen fighting for, I'm going to prove something, anything, that Red Bull is still worth watching. And then you've got Ferrari and Mercedes for second in the standings, and a lot of money to go with it. Yeah. So, yeah, it's interesting. Those two were close today. And yeah, should we jump then to the Antonelli collision? Antonelli goes, I've got it the right way, that Antonelli goes for the undercut.
Yeah.
Doesn't quite work. Leclerc gets out ahead. And then, shall we put this down to very young, very rookie?
I think rookie
went for something.
Yeah. I think he just didn't realize how quick Charles came out of the pits and just did his thing. He just wanted to go, thought, oh, maybe I have room here. There was no space. I just think this is because he doesn't have a lot of experience in F1. He's an extremely talented driver. He skipped some steps to get to F1, and I think in this incident that just shows.
I think as well. So this corner, Hugenholtz, we saw Alonso last year try this a few times, and I'm pretty sure what he would have done is in practice tried that different line. So again, you use less of the banking, so less speed, tighter radius. So you have to carry a lot less speed into the corner to make it work, with the payoff that you're going to travel a much shorter distance.
Mm-hmm.
It felt like Antonelli didn't practice it and just went, oh, well, I'll approach it at the same speed. I'll just use the inside line. And then very quickly learn to Leclerc's detriment that was going to fire him up the hill. And that's what it seemed like. So again, same question then. So Antonelli gets a 10-second penalty for this. Where do you draw that line? Do you think that was fair or lenient?
In this incident, I think it is fair. It just ended the race of another driver who, in my opinion, was at no fault at all. He just should have backed off and just tried somewhere else, because he did have good speed. He was doing good. So just wait a little bit. He's very eager. He just wants to prove himself. But I think in this incident, of course, 10 seconds is a lot, especially in a race like Zandvoort, where you can't pass. If you have to stop 10 seconds, come back, you're just done. We just saw him tumbling down the order. And then another 5 seconds came, and he just knew, his race is done, just because he wanted to pass here.
Yeah, it was very reminiscent. Just it's difficult to overtake. Strike whilst the iron's hot. He's there. He's got warmed up tires, and he just went, "I'm going to go for it here and give it something." And it was nothing. So I think 10 seconds was possibly lenient, but it'd be difficult to give him more. And the reason I say this here is because causing collision, again, in the they're not rules, they're guidelines. 10 seconds is the baseline for causing a collision. Obviously, that can go up to drive through or 10-second stop and go, and both of those feel over the top. Leclerc probably doesn't agree, but you don't ever judge it based on the outcome. If Leclerc carries on, spins and carries on, it shouldn't be a different penalty. So I think 10 seconds was fair.
Yeah, me too. I'm not a Ferrari fan. I have to clarify this. I am Italian, but I'm not a Ferrari fan. But seeing those two cars out of the race because of one incident with another driver, one driver error at the same place almost, it was sad. And of course, Antonelli and Russell also, they had some trouble with the cars later. So, okay, that's their own fault. But the 10 seconds was just, I think it was enough. But yeah, you can't do more, I think. It would be weird.
Yeah, I mean, I just because I'm older, remember times before the 5-second and 10-second penalties where the least lenient, the most lenient, thing, the lessest. My God, who gave me a podcast? Jesus, coming up with new words all myself. The least amount of penalty they could give was a drive-through. And for like the most minor collisions, it felt like that was the wrong thing to do. So they brought these penalties in. They like to give 5 seconds out. And so we've been saying, I've been saying for a while, 5 seconds isn't the answer to everything because you can override it. So certainly now yesterday, at Grand Prix, they start giving 10-second penalties out everywhere. So it was like, okay, you can't just give 10 seconds everywhere. And I guess what we're getting to is the Lawson-Sainz collision, ultimately. So once more, over to you. What did you think? 10-second penalty to Sainz.
Yeah, I don't think that was fair at all. They were like, Oprah, and you get a 10-second penalty, and you get a 10-second penalty. Of course, a lot of people will disagree with me. I read that on Facebook already. I think he was in the fault. He was wrong. But 10 seconds, come on. Lawson also just didn't give any room. again, Lawson also wants to prove himself. Hadjar in fourth. He was at Red Bull, got demoted. I think he finally got that racing spirit back. But for Sainz, a 10-second penalty, I think that was crazy.
Yeah, so to these driving standards that we have and these rules that we have today, it was right that Sainz got a penalty.
Yeah.
However, I think anyone watching, either as a long-term Formula One fan or any racing fan, was watching that going, but how can Lawson just be allowed to drive to the outside of the track?
Yeah.
And Sainz has to back out of it or disappear. So again, you have to look at the rules. Overtaking the outside, he had to be ahead of the front axle at the apex. He wasn't that far, so apparently he has to drive through the gravel or lift off completely. So we all know that's wrong. And then to go, well, that's a 10-second penalty again, just felt like, again, they could give a 5-second. That was an option here. And I think that was, at least, if you're going to say this isn't a racing incident, this was on Sainz, at least give him the most lenient 5-second penalty.
Yeah, it's weird because in sim racing, sometimes you have this ghost mode and you can drive through everyone. That's on a computer. He couldn't do that. Where did we want him to go? Just go off in the gravel, I don't know, hit someone else, whole race done. Give him 10 seconds. He also said, I want to talk to the stewards afterwards. I don't think he got the opportunity to get to the stewards.
So I saw clarification of this. So he went to the stewards and they were busy looking at other things at the time. So the door was closed. He said, then he had to go to the media pen. So he went, they want to do an open door. Yeah, that's fine if they're not busy. So Nate Saunders from ESPN then clarified and said, after he did the media, he then did go see the stewards later, but didn't clarify whether he came out looking happy. I doubt it. Probably gave him a piece of his mind and then back to the Williams motorhome, ready for Monza. But yes, he did go and see them, at least.
If they rectify it, the race is already done. So what would he win if they did? Not a lot.
So on that point of, whilst we're digging at the FIA here, so we're talking about a lot of penalties that were given out after the race. They just wanted to put things after the race. And a few hours after the Grand Prix, they suddenly go, Ferrari haven't had a bad enough day. You know, that incident that happened 20 minutes, 30 minutes before the race? We're suddenly going to look into that and, he's going to take a penalty to Monza.
Of course.
And I reposted this on Instagram, said slam dunk. It is. So give it to him before the race or during this race. Don't ruin the next one for them as well.
No. Even if he finished and he didn't just bin it, the decision came so late that he just couldn't do the 5-second stop. So just give him a disadvantage next race at Monza, Ferrari home ground. Oh,
yeah.
Suppose he will be.
FIA are going to have to hire some security, I think.
Yes.
So, not that I'm advocating doing anything, but FIA had a bit of a off weekend, I think we'll say there. Consistency, yes, everyone got a 10-second penalty, or they got 5-place grid for next race. But maybe get decisions done when they should be done, and maybe just think about them a little bit more. I think
it's not that the race was already on; they had time.
Yeah, they were probably busy making sure everyone had the right underwear on at that point or something before the race.
No earrings,
something important.
No nose rings or whatever. Yeah.
Excellent. So, as my notes have disappeared, so I've said scrappy weekend for Hamilton. Hopefully, he has a better one. It's interesting. Just going back like 10 minutes, that you said you're not a Ferrari fan, and I'm not a Ferrari fan, but I'm starting to like Ferrari in their current guys. I love Fred Vasseur. I love the relationship that he has got with the other team principals as well. And I love the comment that came out. So they asked Toto Wolff about Formula One post Christian Horner. And I love this comment. He turned around and said, well, we've lost the bad. And he said this to Fred Vasseur. We've lost the bad, but at least we've got the good and the uglies.
And the ugly.
He said it took Fred a couple of seconds to realise what he's trying to say. But I mean, he's got a point. You know, this new Red Bull under Laurent Mekies. I mean, apparently he sat down with Zach Brown straight away in Budapest because he wanted to lay new foundations and say, look, how can we work for the better of the sport rather than the barbs that used to come from Christian Horner. So I do like this new Ferrari. I do like the way Formula One's going. So I felt a little bit for them, as I say, double DNF. I don't want to see that, and I want to see them fight back. And I've said all season long that I want them to take the fight to McLaren. I entered the season thinking it would be a lot closer. So yeah, hopefully a better race for them in Monza.
Yes, it's just Monza and Ferrari. You just want them to succeed there. Every part of my body, just like Hamilton at Silverstone last year, I was fully crying. So Monza and Ferrari, I have the same, out of body experience. Hopefully for them, be cursed. And I think it's so sad because, of course, Ferrari and the strategies don't often work out. But the memes online about them clowning and stuff, I just feel for them because those people working there, they have studied their ass off. They have worked so hard to get there. And everybody is just making fun of them. Is so sad. Because I wouldn't be able to do that. I wouldn't be able to think about all the things. I'm not smart enough to do that. They are. Just let them do their jobs. And some of the times, their decisions are completely, with the pit stop, getting a pit stop and another car crashing, you just lost your pit stop time or whatever. It's out of their hands. They can't do anything about it. So those memes kind of make me sad or mad a little bit.
Yeah, luck is a factor. As you say, he's pitted. They weren't to know that Hamilton was to go out. That's that point. And this is the Ferrari team that start of 2024, I think they got the better of McLaren twice over with strategy. Then, funnily enough, get to Monza and they stole a win from and a 1-2 because McLaren somehow turned around and said two-stop is the way to do Monza, which it's never been. You know, Leclerc again threw the dice and said, let's try the one-stop. And it worked last year. So again, if anyone can go out there and do it, I again fully back them to do it. One team I don't back at the moment that I want to talk about as well is Aston Martin. I mean, Alonso. What's your thoughts on Alonso?
I want him to succeed, but I think he's past his. Of course, he's already past his prime. I mean, he's no.
He's older than me. That says a lot.
Wow.
Oh, right. Okay.
No. Well, sometimes I don't realize how old he is because he just won a championship when he was not even able to have memories, I guess. So I really want him to succeed, but in that Aston Martin, it's not going to happen. His complaining, I mean, dude, you're not in a Mercedes, in a McLaren. Of course, strategy went wrong, but come on, your fighting times are over. Of course, last year, or I don't know if it was 2 years ago, the Aston Martin at the beginning of the season was really good and he had some podiums and he had that feeling of, yes, I can do it. And that's just gone now.
Yes.
And
yeah.
I
mean, again, with the complaining, him going, well, you put me in traffic. Well, he qualified 10th. And I think he made those comments when he was 14th. So he's lost 4 places himself. The team didn't do that to him. And suddenly he's turning around and going, well, I'm in traffic, let's do something. It's like, well, okay. And they threw the dice. They did pit him, and it turned into a good salvage operation. Obviously, we know they've got Adrian Newey, so next year could they be towards the top? But personally, this sort of petulance to Alonso is this one thing that has never been ironed out of him. And
No.
I think unless he's getting those shock podiums as he was, he seemed very happy then. He seemed to do no wrong. Unless he's where he wants to be, suddenly it's win or bin for him, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, I think, of course, he came back, which means he just loves to do what he's doing now. And he has been doing it for a long time. He did a Le Mans, he won. He did so many things outside of F1 that at the moment I'm thinking, yeah, is he just going to finish his career in F1 and just don't touch the wheel again and be like, okay, I'm now going to live a happy life, maybe family, because that's also, he's kind of old, getting old. So, but you just see that he really loves what he's doing. Although at the moment, I
doesn't seem to as much.
No.
I still think he's got an Indy 500 run in him. When you look at Takuma Sato,
yes,
believe it or not, Takuma Sato's older, and he ran in the Indy 500 this year.
Yeah.
I still think that's unfinished business for Alonso. He came so close the first time that he has that in him, and I just don't want to see him wasting these last years. If he's got a timeline, or an expiry date, using these years just driving around the Aston Martin. If next year's car isn't half a second lap quicker than everyone else, I could see that being his last year. I really, really could. And I think to his detriment if he stays, if that makes sense. He might want to extend Formula One, but I think he's best elsewhere. Along with, when I say win or bin with Alonso, you've got bin and bin in the other Aston Martin, quite literally. A shout out at this moment for all of the Aston Martin crew who had to stay up till 1 a.m. fixing that car Friday night into the morning, only to watch Lance Stroll go out and thank the team by putting it back in a wall. I have no words. I have no words at this point. It was a good recovery in the race, shall we say?
Yeah, definitely.
But, a qualifying mistake.
So difficult with him because he can do so many good things in the car, but most of the times he doesn't. He has his moments, and then it's like, is that Lance Stroll? He can drive. And then he has a moment or two moments, like last weekend. I feel for him though. The pressure that guy must be under with his dad and all the people talking about him being a nepo baby in the sport, and he's not talented enough. Guys, he was so good in Formula 2, not Formula 2 back then, but he's not a pancake. He can drive. He kind of deserves to have his moment in F1, but he's been in F1 a little bit too long.
I mean, he was in the Ferrari. I'm pretty sure. I'm going to have to look this up after. I'm pretty sure he was in the Ferrari Development Academy at one point. So this, as you say, his junior career and even arriving in, I think he arrived in Williams, didn't he? He looked okay, looked adequate. He looked right for F1, and then people going, well, his dad's a billionaire, and you don't go and take that away from him until years later when you suddenly go, okay, he's had a very long career for a Formula One driver already at this point, and you start to go, well, it's probably not because he once or twice got a podium. And so again, we'll see where they are next year. So I'm gonna start to head towards wrapping up, but I want to give two notes at this point. Note to Ollie Behrman, pit lane to 6th place. Yes, they goal hanged a bit at Haas, but I mean, that's the sort of things you have to do So yeah, held up for a cheap pit stop and got
Yeah.
it in a 6th place. I just think that's a brilliant performance, good points to haul from this race. And to Laura Bowden, the
Yes.
chief financial executive for McLaren, who they sent up onto the podium. And for my brain, that half a second went, is that Jerry Horner in McLaren gear? Thinking that Zach Brown had trolled Christian Horner and sent Jerry Horner up there. No, Laura Bowden, of course, of McLaren. It's always good to see women representatives, especially some, I say lesser roles. The chief executive is pretty high up, but a background operative, if you like, not front and center. Like we've heard a lot about Laura Muller this year, and other faces, and specifically drivers when we think of like Formula One Academy coming through the ranks as well. But to see other people in the team first
Didn't
and foremost,
even know who she was or what she was doing, so that's always fun.
Looked it up as soon as you see it on the podium, and that's the power of putting a female on the podium, just to collect that manufacturer's trophy and take a face full of champagne after for her efforts. So I'm going to end on the 2 points that I always end on after a Formula One review, and you get to go first. Driver of the weekend. So we practice, qualifying, and race, and then I also want your highlight of the weekend, please.
For me, of course, driver of the weekend. He was driver of the day Sunday, Isaac Hadjar. Seeing how he started this season with his DNF before the race could even start, to now on the podium. I think he has so much talent that went unseen last year when he was in F2. He was in a title fight. He couldn't start the last title deciding race. So for me, this just shows how good of a driver he is in the Racing Bull. His qualifying was amazing, but he also held up that 4th to 3rd place in the race. Amazing job.
Agree with that. Yeah, fully agree. I was thinking Ollie Behrman before, but he qualified 19th. And as I say, it's driver of the weekend, so it'd be difficult to go there. Piastri, it's very difficult to determine where the McLaren is. He stole pole. He got a Grand Slam. He led every lap. But I think it has to be Hadjar. There's just no one that comes close this weekend to that. So your highlight of the weekend, admittedly, I haven't thought of one at this point. So I'm going to try and think of the fly.
Oh, I don't know. It's a difficult one because although the qualifying races, everything, it was all good. There weren't really spectacular moments. Of course, for me, Oscar taking pole by such a small margin, amazing. During the race, there was one overtake, but I forgot who did it, and I told someone, "Oh, this is going to go in the what's it called?"
Overtake them off.
Yeah, but I forgot what it was. Ooh.
Trying to think as well because there's a few passes sort of out of position. I'm thinking of one into like the second to last corner.
Yeah, I think that was. It's into Arie Luijendijk. Yeah, I forgot who it was.
It was that good.
Yeah, it was really good. But this race also, I was just looking all the views from the cameras up with the little waters and Charles sitting on the dune on his phone upside down. Just moments like that. It was not fun for him. The fact that Lando has DNF twice this season, and both of the times there was a rookie on the podium.
Yes.
Just things like that. That was what captured my brain, and I just didn't think. I liked everything of the race.
That was that moment of Leclerc sat on the banking. There was a point where the two McLarens went through, and I'm watching them, and Norris obviously trying to get closer and studying their lines. And then as soon as they've gone, your mind then goes, "Oh, there's Leclerc just sort of sat there hanging out," and the bit with the phone, sort of like trying to listen what he was trying to. I thought it was Fred Vasseur saying, "Please come home, we miss you."
moment when he was sat there and you saw Lando sitting somewhere, and they cut back to him on the phone. I told someone, oh, he's calling an Uber for him and Lando to cry.
Yeah, we'll share a taxi. I don't have enough fare to get back myself, but you got a bit more money, Lando. I don't know who's got more money out of the two of them. Yeah, share a ride. My highlight of the weekend, it's a bit of a weird one. I'm going to go with the vibes of the Dutch Grand Prix not being spoiled for the fact they didn't have the orange flares everywhere.
Yeah.
So for years, obviously, we had the flares, and people that have gone have said, I can't see the smell of it. They're banned for a good reason. We've seen them thrown onto the track. They're not good. They're not good in general.
No.
To see the general vibe of the Grand Prix still be a massive party with some Formula One accident happening in the middle of it, not ruined by not having flares, kind of proves that it's just a great vibe. It's top. Honestly, watching the race this weekend, it now has got me thinking about going next year, about looking at tickets, because it's the last one, but I think the vibes of it are just off the chart. And without coming back covered in papaya, I'd call it papaya smoke, obviously. It wouldn't be orange. But the thought of not being covered in that makes it that much more viable to me. And then all the sustainability around it, everyone's cycling. It's top of my list, comfortably at this point.
Yeah. Also, I think that I just wanted to say we had 2 Dutch winners in F1 Academy in the Netherlands. Amazing.
Yes, Nina Gadman and Maya Vug as well. Hopefully I've said those right. Yes, congratulations both of those. Very well. Good point. We'll get you back on, because that was a good point. I didn't even have that in the notes, and I should have. Yes. A friend of mine was there as well. Georgina, if you're listening, hello. And she said that the Formula Academy paddock was open to all guests as well, which again, another tick. Well done, Susie Wolf. You're doing brilliant things. That is the right decision. Absolutely. Get people in the paddock, meeting the drivers, meeting the team, because there's other mechanics and people working on those teams that are women and are inspiring to people as well. So top marks all round to the weekend there. We'll wrap up there. That was our Dutch Grand Prix review. Hope you've enjoyed listening along at home. Like Amber, who once put up a thing on Threads and said, I wish people would speak more and talk about things. If you want to be involved, please let me know. Messages open. I'm always happy to get people in on the podcast, against their will or with their will. As the now season goes, he forced me, and last week obviously Andy going, oh, you've got to pay me in chocolate oranges. But please, if you do want to get involved in the chat, then I'm more than welcome to come and listen. And it might not be Formula One. You might want to say that I partake in banger racing at the weekend. Do some reviewing of that. I'll gladly talk about it. So please get involved and follow, like, I hate saying all that, the follow, like, subscribe business. Do all that and tell a friend. I did it. Right, it's out of the way. Amber, thank you so much for joining me tonight. Where can people find you predominantly?
On TikTok, Amber on the Grid, and my Instagram threads are Amber Margareta _.
I will link all of those underneath as well. And hopefully people go and follow Amber. You tend to, as I say, you follow more endurance racing, was where I say picked you up, but found you on Threads. Then obviously had an F1 backing as well. So for all your endurance racing backing, then Amber is the person to go to. So thank you very much. Until next week when we do a Monza review. I've been Perry Brown, that's been Amber, and this has been the Motorsport Review. Thank you very much for listening. Goodbye.